My name is Stephen and this is my channel, Heart's Delight Exports. Okay, hopefully you can hear me today. It's a bit windy out and I'm not sure how well the mic is going to handle all this wind. But as you can see from the video so far, we're in a much different location than my workshop. I'm up on the roof of my house. I don't have a drone or something to do aerial footage of my garden, so I figured I'd take you through it this way. I have an older picture, maybe a couple older pictures of my garden from the past, and I'd like to show you a bit about what's changed and what I've done, some things I have intended to do. So if we start over here, it's just a big patch of dirt on this side, right? It doesn't look like anything special, but that patch of dirt used to be about 2 feet lower than what it is now. You can see a rock out at the end of it. That rock is now marking the end of the fill that I've gotten down the side of my house. All that side of the house, right down the driveway, or what's now the driveway, has all been filled in, some of it 5 and 6 feet tall, and has now given me a much better yard. Now I hope in time to take that level of ground right across here where I have my chairs set up as a sitting area, all them buckets and the fire pit and everything. I want all that ground level to go right across and over to this side where the clotheslines are. And it might happen too. Now here in front, right behind the line of buckets I put out to collect more rainwater, is a new planting area that I have set up. I'm going to be moving my herb garden today. It might be a bit dangerous, but I only have a couple of herbs and a few flowers, so I'm not overly worried that they mightn't transplant well. We'll have to wait and see how that turns out. Now on either side of the herb garden, there's a couple of large metal barrels. Those are drums from 2 different dryers. I lost my dryer this year. It finally conked out on me. My brother lost his. So I have the 2 barrels and I'm going to set them up as planters. I'd started to set them up this year, but it just wasn't working out very well. They didn't have the soil level that they needed to be able to be usable. So I took all the soil out of it again and put it into the herb garden planter bin there. More of an effort to cover that over and get that working than anything else. Now behind the herb planter on the right, there's a little structure. It looks kind of odd, but that's my little greenhouse. It's something I tossed together this year to see if I could make use of it, see if it would be useful for me to have. I've wanted a greenhouse before many times, but the truth is I've never been quite sure if I'd make enough use of it to justify the space in my garden for it. But this year, so far, this one's worked out fairly well. I used a chain link gate system one my neighbors had. He was tossing it out after enlarging his driveway and it no longer would work for him. I used one chain link gate as the upright wall, and the other one is the angled roof that you see there. Now my future plans for that one, I'm going to be taking it down in the fall because I've decided that it is fairly useful. It is working out fairly well. So you can see here how I've put the greenhouse together. This is the upright wall, and this stick is on a diagonal going up the wall to help keep the plastic taut. There's another stick on the outside that it's screwed to help keep everything in place. I just use the indentations in the chain link to help keep everything where I wanted it to go. Now, these tomatoes are Chef's Choice Orange. I've never grown them. I bought them and didn't even realize what they were, to be honest with you. I knew they were tomatoes, of course, but I didn't know the Chef's Choice Orange. I don't know anything about that particular type. Now, this one in the corner is starting to do what I wanted the rest of them to do, which is hit the chain link and use the chain link as a guiding pole or trellis to go up the back. So far, he's the only one that's doing it. Now, down here, you can see one of the ones that I planted months ago. Yeah, very disappointing. He's not even lent to my hand yet. I don't know why. These are mostly Tiny Tims, except for a few of these over on the side that are beefsteak tomatoes, I think. I salvaged from a tomato the wife was going to throw out. It's gone all soft. Planted them in a bit of toilet paper on that side, and within a week or so they'd sprouted up really good. But again, like the Tiny Tims, they haven't gotten any bigger than this. So again, fairly disappointing. Over here on the outside of the greenhouse, you can see my improvised water collection system. I figured that the greenhouse is shedding water anyway, and it's all going off onto the side, so I might as well try to capture some of it. I didn't have eavesdropping, I didn't have the right things to make it really work, but I had some old sewer pipe with a bunch of cracks into it. So I cut out a trough off the top and left this part whole and rigged up a little chute here. I thought for sure I had an elbow for this one, and I was just going to elbow it over a little piece of pipe and send it right down into the hole. But it didn't work out because I didn't have the elbow that I thought I did. Now, my future plans for that one, I'm going to be taking it down in the fall because I've decided that it is fairly useful. It is working out fairly well for me. But I think I can do a bit better than the way it's set up now. So in the fall, I'm going to be taking it apart, taking it down. I'll use better plastic when I put it back up. And I'm going to move it over to this side where that big pile of firewood and waste wood is down on the back. Let's see if I can get this stuff here. All of this is being burnt and given away, tossed out, whatever I can do to get rid of it. The pile has shrunk quite a bit actually, but I intend to put the greenhouse over there, and I'm going to use both chain link gate sections as the roof. They're already bolted together, so all I got to do is loosen up the bolts from the way I got it configured now and create a peak with it, supported with some shelving that I got down in the back. It's all metal, so it should last for a while and it should be nice and solid. I'll put a planting bed in under it, probably made out of 4x4, so I'm going to salvage from my herb garden. Now, next to the greenhouse, over right here, there's 3 rows of turnip. I've actually got a couple of turnips that are turning out fairly decently sized. Over here you can see my turnips. This is the biggest one I have so far as I can see. You see the purple of him? I have fish flies everywhere, of course, because, well, I fertilized the garden with fish. And not everybody's going to agree with that or think that it's a good idea, but right here was a fish. There's a few bones. There's what's left of the fish. There's not much, and as time goes by, there'll be even less. The other bugs will get at it. It'll provide a lot of nutrients for the soil, and my turnips here have done better since I put the fish in. I actually had one on either side here. I managed to fertilize a couple of rows with it. You can see the third row here is not doing so good. Let's see, I can't see my monitor very well, so you have to forgive me if the video is a little shaky. But right over here is the third row, and they should be doing better, but I'm not sure why they're not. They're right on they have fish on either side of them actually, and they're not doing as well so far anyway. Let's see if they get any bigger. Now, let's see. Over here in this row, you might be able to see much here, but that's parsnip. There's actually a few growing, but it's hard to see them at this distance, I think. I'll have to see if I can zoom in. Now, over here you can see the parsnip is coming up. These are parsnip tops. They look more like parsley than parsnip, but so far they're doing fairly well. There's large holes in the line that I planted, but I'm not sure what else I could have done differently to improve my success rate. And on the other side of them, I have a nice line of carrots. And last over here, hidden behind a little raspberry bush right here, there's 3 rows of carrots. Those are coming up, but it's hard to tell if there's actually anything underneath all the green. It might only be green at this point. Now the next bed is potatoes. That one is seeming to turn out pretty good at this point. Now the potatoes are a big sea of green. I recently fertilized these with a bunch of codfish bodies from one of our recent fishing trips, and it evidently didn't hurt at all. They're sprouting up pretty good, but I'll only be able to tell for sure once the potatoes have been harvested and pulled up. They were all from cut potatoes bought at the store, so I'm not sure how well it's going to turn out for that. But so far, it looks okay on the surface. Now down in the back corner over here, there's 30 or 40 onions. Now over here on this side, you can see my onions are growing up fairly well, but I'm not sure how big the bulbs are actually getting. There's one right out here on the corner, the farthest one out, that seems to be doing the best. Everything else seems to be mostly stock. I didn't start them from seed. I bought the sets because I've had poor luck in the past trying to grow onions from seeds. So those are coming along pretty good. The stalks are big anyway, but what I can see of the bulbs so far are not that big. Now over here is going to get a little bit confusing because this is my green peas, and they're already a lot taller than I thought they were going to get. I've tried growing green peas in the past, and they didn't get as tall as this. I don't know if it was the seed that I had at the time or if it was something else, but these seeds are growing very, very well, and have gotten much taller than I was thinking they would. Here's my wall of peas. But the confusing part is right in between the 2 trellises that are supporting those peas, there are green and yellow wax beans in between. It's nearly impossible from this height and this angle to be able to see any of those. They're completely hidden. But if you were looking at it from Mr. Bones' angle down there, my scarecrow, then you'd be able to actually see them. Now, right over in the back corner over here is where I planted a mix of lettuces. Now, I actually think some of what I got is kale. I can see it, but I don't think the video is going to pick it up, so maybe I'll give it a closer look from ground level. So here's my lettuce. I'm believing this is kale. I haven't grown it before, and this wasn't exactly intentional, but the bugs sure do love it. It's in hard shape in most places. You can see I got scarlet runner beans going down the outside. There were several plants of it growing up on the inside as well. I'm not sure if they got killed off or not. Now there's one of my little surprises. Can you see him there in the corner? And right here, I think that might be a pumpkin. It's not a zucchini or anything, because you'd see the zucchini starting to develop maybe, but so far he's a flower. But the lettuce is coming up very well, and on the outside edges of it I planted scarlet runner beans. Now those I was expecting to do a lot better. They're turned out very poorly at this point. I've gotten some flowers, but it's really not that good of a turnout. It's not that impressive. I was hoping for a lot more. They're supposed to get upwards of 6 feet tall, which is part of the point of the really tall corner trellis there. So I was really hoping and trying for a big covering crop there to stop wind and everything from that side. But they've grown up very sparsely. They are flowering a bit, but they're not, they don't seem to be sprouting any seed pods or anything. I'm not sure how they come out with their seeds. But I'll take what I can get. So far they're living. I've tried a couple of times. I actually had them started in the house, and the ones I transplanted from inside did very poorly. Most of them died off. I think there was only about 4 plants out of the dozen and a half that I started. They came up quickly. They seemed to be doing good, but I don't know, maybe I didn't harden them off enough. Now down in the back corner, you can see my compost bins. I have 2 black compost bins from the recycling center and the old washer body that I'm still making use of. Now, those are all producing compost for me. The washer body and the black composter next to it are both about half full or more of grass and vegetable peels and that sort of thing. And last night I put a bunch of fish bodies into one of the black ones. People say not to use meats because it'll attract rats. Well, there's already rats around here and I can't get rid of them very easy anyway. But the fish bodies are actually very good compost, very good material for your garden. And maybe I'll get away with it. I'm not sure if I will or not, but I'm trying it and it's good for my compost, so we'll see. I have the 2 barrel planters there in front of the composters. To be honest, I never made much use of those. It didn't turn out very well. The project was fine in and of itself, but I just didn't seem to have the right plants to put into it that would capitalize on that kind of space. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with those. Maybe at some point I'll give them away, or I'll just take them apart and make use of them for something else. So that was it for this one. I hope you enjoyed it. If you got a comment, question, bit of advice on gardening or any other project, you can leave it in the comment below, in the comment boxes below. And you know where the thumbs up button is too, if you thought it was any good at all. And subscribe if you want to see what I'm up to on a regular basis. Okay, I'll see you. Go get out in your garden. It's a beautiful day. Go do something. Enjoy life. All right, see ya. And oh, yep, there is the carrot. Yeah.